Welcome, dear listener, to another quiet journey into the echoes of our distant past. Tonight, we find ourselves in a world where the air is sharp and cold, where the breath of ancient hunters clouds in the frozen dawn. In this episode, we will travel back to the Ice Age, to a time when humanity's survival depended on fragile alliances, flint-tipped spears, and the uncertain grace of nature's largest beasts. We will begin by exploring the daily challenges faced by those who hunted the mighty mammoth, a life defined by hardship, resilience, and the constant struggle against the elements. From there, we will meet a remarkable woman from the settlement of Dolny Vestonitz, whose life and legacy still whisper to us through the layers of time. Then, we will step into the mysterious world of mammoth bone dwellings, structures that have puzzled and intrigued archaeologists for generations. Finally, we will gather by the glow of the ancient hearth to listen to the stories shared by hunters long ago, stories that reveal the deep threads of community and memory woven into the fabric of Ice Age life. So, settle in now. Let your mind drift beyond the comforts of the modern world and sink softly into the vast, cold plains where mammoths once roamed. Let us begin, one quiet step at a time. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast, wind-swept plain. The sky stretches overhead in a pale, unforgiving blue. The sun, low and cold, offers little warmth as the breath of winter's wind coils around you, seeping into every crevice of your clothing, biting at your skin, and reminding you that survival here is never guaranteed. You are a hunter, one among many in a small band of people who have come together to face a common foe, the mighty mammoth. These creatures, towering and formidable, are both the promise of life and the spectre of death. A single successful hunt can feed your entire community for weeks. A failed one might mean hunger or worse. The day begins long before dawn. In the dim light of early morning, you rise from your bed of animal hides, your body stiff from the cold and the hard ground. Your fingers fumble at the sinew bindings of your boots, the chill making every movement slow and deliberate. Even the simple act of preparing to hunt is a ritual of patience and resolve. As you step outside, the wind greets you with its sharp, indifferent touch. It carries the scent of snow and distant fires, the faintest hints of other lives moving across the land. Around you, your fellow hunters gather, their faces lined with the hard-earned wisdom of survival. Few words are spoken. Each person knows the risks of the hunt, and each carries the memory of hunts gone wrong, broken spears, shattered bones, companions lost to the charging fury of a beast that will not yield easily. Imagine the weight of your spear in your hand, its flint point carefully napped and bound with sinew. You test its balance, your thumb tracing the smooth shaft as you remind yourself that every step, every breath must be measured. The ground beneath your feet is uneven, a patchwork of frozen earth and brittle grass. Each step cracks the silence, a sound that echoes like a warning to the mammoths grazing in the distance. The strategy is simple in its desperation. The hunters form a loose circle, hoping to drive the mammoth toward a pit or a natural obstacle. The wind shifts. The mammoth lifts its massive head, its small eyes scanning the horizon, its ears flaring as it senses the tension in the air. In that moment, every heart beats as one, the rhythm of survival shared among the hunters. You feel the trembling in your legs as you take a step forward, the cold wind slicing through your furs. Your breath forms clouds that drift away into the pale sky. The mammoth snorts, its breath steaming in the cold, and the ground trembles beneath its weight. In the chaos that follows, a rush of shouting voices, the blur of movement, the thunder of hooves, you realize that nothing about this is simple. The mammoth is a force of nature, its hide thick and unyielding, its tusks sweeping like scythes through the air. Even as spears fly, you know that each strike might mean life or death, not just for you, but for the children who wait by the fires, for the elders who can no longer hunt, for the pregnant women who carry the future. The cold wind bites at your face, your hands numb on the shaft of your spear. The ground is slick with frost, and each movement is a careful negotiation between balance and purpose. The hunt is a test of patience, a dance of endurance and fear. And when the hunt is over, if you are lucky enough to survive, there is no time for celebration. The cold presses in, the meat must be butchered, the hides prepared, the bones gathered for tools and shelters. Every part of the animal has a purpose, every step an unending cycle of labor and hope. As you stand among your companions, the wind stills for a moment. And in that hush, you feel the weight of every hunt that came before, every loss, every triumph. You are a mammoth hunter, and though the cold bites at your spirit, the fire of survival still burns quietly within you. And now, as the last embers of the hunt fade, let us turn our gaze to a woman whose life and legacy have endured through the millennia. Let us step softly into the story of the woman of Dolní Věstonice. As the memory of the mammoth hunt fades into the hush of twilight, let your mind drift gently to a different kind of story, a story whispered to us through the bones and artifacts left behind in a place known as Dolní Věstonice. Imagine a wide, open plain nestled beneath the rolling hills of what we now call the Czech Republic. Here, over 25,000 years ago, a community of hunter-gatherers made their camp, their fires flickering against the night sky. This was a place of both survival and artistry, a meeting point of nature's challenges and human ingenuity. Among the quiet remains unearthed by archaeologists lies the delicate imprint of a woman, known simply as the woman of Dolní Věstonice. Her bones, long since turned to pale shadow, tell us stories of a life lived at the edge of endurance, yet also at the heart of her community. Picture her now, sitting by a small hearth, the glow of firelight warming her face as the chill of the Ice Age night presses in around her. Her hair, thick and tangled from the wind, falls across her shoulders, and her eyes, calm, watchful, reflect the quiet strength of one who knows the rhythms of the hunt, the gathering, and the endless tending of the fire. Her people were masters of adaptation. They lived in simple shelters of mammoth bones and hides, arranged in a careful circle that shielded them from the biting winds. The air was heavy with the sense of damp earth and smoldering wood, a blend of life and survival. Here, meals were prepared, stories were shared, and the rhythms of the seasons marked the days. The woman of Dolní Věstonice was not merely a bystander to this life, she was its beating heart. Her bones reveal signs of age and wear, evidence of a life lived in service to her people. Her joints bear the quiet marks of constant movement, gathering plants, scraping hides, tending fires, preparing tools. Her hands, now only silent echoes, once shaped the clay figures that have become symbols of her community's artistic spirit. It was here, amid the low hum of conversation and the soft scraping of stone on bone, that the earliest known ceramic figurine, the Venus of Dolní Věstonice, was shaped. Imagine her fingers, steady and practiced, coaxing form from formlessness, giving shape to a small figure that might have represented fertility, womanhood, or perhaps a prayer to the forces that governed life and death. The clay would have been soft, yielding, its dampness a contrast to the cold air outside. As it dried and hardened by the fire, it became a testament to the creativity that flickered within these early people. Beyond the artistry, her life was bound to the needs of the group. She would have known the subtle signs of the changing seasons, the shifting patterns of the herds, the quiet knowledge of which plants to gather and which to avoid. Each step she took was a negotiation with nature, as vast indifference, a world where survival was never certain, yet community made the struggle bearable. Archaeologists found her resting place within the settlement itself, a sign of respect and belonging. Her grave was simple but significant, a small pit lined with the bones of mammoths, perhaps a final gesture to honor her role in the community. She was laid to rest with a necklace of small shells, each one a story of a journey to distant waters, a token of the interconnectedness of her people's world. Imagine the quiet ceremony that might have accompanied her burial. The hush of voices, the low murmur of grief that was both personal and shared, the steady rhythm of drums or the gentle rasp of a bone flute, a melody that carried her spirit across the threshold of life and death. A fire might have burned nearby, its smoke rising in slow spirals to the sky, a bridge between the living and the departed. Yet even in death her legacy endures. The small figurines found near her home, the carefully worked tools, the patterns of hearths and shelters, each speaks to a life lived with purpose and creativity, a life that was as much about community as it was about survival. As you imagine the woman of Dolní Věstonice, let your mind linger on the details of her world, the warmth of the fire on her skin, the roughness of the clay in her hands, the quiet laughter of children playing among the mammoth bones. Let her presence remind us that even in the harshest of times, the human spirit found ways to create, to nurture, and to leave behind echoes of itself. In the end, she was not merely a survivor of her age, she was a shaper of it, a quiet force that held her people together through the long winters and the brief, bright summers. Her life reminds us that even in the coldest of worlds, warmth can be found in the strength of human hands and the bonds we share. And now, as the last light of her fire dims, let us turn our gaze to the remnants of mammoth bone dwellings, silent sentinels of a world that once bustled with life and laughter. Let us explore the mysteries they hold and the stories they continue to whisper to us through the long corridors of time. As the embers of the woman of Dolní Věstonice's fire fade, let us now journey beyond the warmth of her hearth to a different kind of shelter, one that speaks to both ingenuity and mystery. Imagine yourself walking across a windswept plain, the horizon stretching in every direction, the sky vast and endless above. The air is cold, carrying with it the scent of snow and the distant call of birds that circle the icy rivers below. Beneath your feet, the ground is marked by the passage of many lives, some human, some animal. Traces of a world both harsh and teeming with quiet rhythms. In the distance, a strange shape rises from the earth. At first glance, it might seem like a natural formation, a jumble of stones and weathered wood. But as you draw closer, you see the unmistakable curve of massive bones, their surfaces bleached by time and the ceaseless wind. Here, in this place, a dwelling of mammoth bones has stood for thousands of years, a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the people who once called this land home. Picture the structure in its prime, a circular frame crafted from the largest bones of the hunted mammoth, skulls arranged like sentinels, long curved tusks arching toward the sky, forming an intricate lattice that supported hides and turf. The bones themselves, with their rough textures and quiet grandeur, would have glowed faintly in the firelight, casting shadows that danced across the faces of those who sat within. These dwellings, found in places like Mezherik in modern-day Ukraine, reveal the delicate balance between survival and creativity. Each bone was placed with purpose, each piece chosen for its shape, strength, and significance. Imagine the time it would have taken to drag these colossal remains across the frozen steppe, to position them with care, to bind them together with sinew and hide, an act of patience born from necessity and communal effort. Within these shelters, life would have unfolded in rhythms both familiar and strange. The low murmur of conversation, the crackle of fire, the scent of roasting meat mingling with the cold tang of snow outside. Children would have played among the bones, their laughter soft and bright, a counterpoint to the endless winds that howled across the plains. But even as archaeologists piece together the remnants of these structures, questions linger. Were they permanent homes or temporary refuges built for particular seasons? Did they serve as ceremonial spaces, places where the bones of the mammoth, a creature so central to survival, were honored as protectors and providers? Perhaps they were both, part shelter, part shrine, a space where the boundary between the practical and the spiritual blurred into a single, unified experience. Imagine the interior of one of these dwellings. The bones, bleached and smooth from long exposure, would have formed walls that filtered the wind, their pale surfaces catching the flickering light of small fires. Hides stretched across the openings would have provided warmth, their rough textures a reminder of the hunt that sustained the people within. The ground beneath would have been packed hard by countless footsteps, marked by the soot of many meals, the quiet remains of shared stories. Consider also the symbolism of the mammoth itself, a creature that provided food, clothing, tools, and even the very bones that sheltered its hunters. The act of building with its remains was more than practical. It was a silent tribute to the cycle of life and death that defined these communities. Every tusk, every rib, every massive skull carried with it the memory of the hunt, the struggle, the victory that ensured survival. Archaeologists have found small objects buried in the floors of these dwellings, beads, figurines, even traces of ochre that hint at a world rich with meaning. Perhaps these were offerings to ancestors, tokens of gratitude to the spirit of the mammoth, or simply cherished keepsakes meant to bring comfort in the long nights. Imagine now the hush of the wind outside, the bones creaking gently in the cold. Inside, the fire's glow illuminates faces lined with experience, eyes that have watched the mammoths roam and vanish. Here within these ancient walls, a community found not just shelter, but a sense of place, a fragile barrier between themselves and the vast, indifferent steppe. In these bone dwellings, the line between the hunter and the hunted, the living and the dead, the seen and the unseen was drawn in curves of ivory and quiet reverence. They stand now as monuments to human resilience, silent yet eloquent in their testament to the strength and creativity of those who faced a world colder and harder than we can easily imagine. And now, as the wind drifts across the ancient plain, let us move closer to the fire. Let us gather with the hunters of long ago and listen to the stories they shared, stories that carried hope, memory, and the promise of survival through the long, dark nights. As the hush of the mammoth bone dwellings settles around us, let us now draw closer to the fire, a place where the cold wind is held at bay, where the flickering light casts gentle shadows on faces lined with the wisdom of survival. Here, in the glow of embers, the stories of the hunt come alive, not in shouts or boasts, but in quiet, measured words that carry the weight of memory and the warmth of companionship. Imagine yourself among a small group of hunters gathered close, their breath forming soft clouds in the chill air, their eyes reflecting the flicker of the flames. The fire crackles, sending tiny sparks upward, their brief glow dancing like the spirits of the animals they have hunted. Around you, the darkness is a silent witness, the vast plain beyond the reach of the fire's light. One hunter, his voice low and steady, begins a tale. He speaks of a hunt from years past, when the mammoth they pursued turned suddenly, its tusks sweeping through the air like the arms of a giant. He tells of the rush of fear, the scramble to find shelter behind the rocks. The silence that followed, a silence broken only by the ragged breaths of the hunters as they waited unsure whether they would live to see the dawn. His words flow like a slow river, unhurried, each detail unfolding with the calm of memory rather than the urgency of drama. Another hunter, older, his hair streaked with the pale color of winter itself, adds his own voice to the circle. He recalls a time when the hunt failed, when the mammoth escaped into the frozen mist, leaving behind the prints of its massive feet and the deep ache of hunger that followed. Yet even in this tale of loss, there is no bitterness, only the quiet acceptance that in the dance of hunter and prey, victory is never certain. A woman, her hands busy with the quiet rhythm of shaping a small bone tool, listens and then begins her own story, a memory of gathering plants in the shelter of a hidden valley, the air thick with the scent of damp earth. She speaks of finding berries at the base of a twisted tree, a small gift from the land that sustained them through the lean times. Her voice is soft, but in its softness is the strength of one who knows that survival is not just the work of the hunter, but the shared labor of all. The children, eyes wide in the firelight, listen with the reverence of those who have not yet learned the weight of the stories they will one day tell. They lean in, their hands busy with small carvings, their minds filled with dreams of hunts yet to come and fires yet to be built. The fire's glow bathes their faces in gold, a gentle promise that even in this world of cold and struggle, warmth can be found. The stories flow from one to the next, each a thread in the tapestry of memory. There is no rush, no need to fill the silence too quickly. The pauses between words are as important as the words themselves, spaces where the mind can wander, where the heart can rest. The rhythm of the fire, the slow beat of the drum, the quiet crackle of burning wood, each sound weaves itself into the stories, a gentle harmony that soothes and binds. Beyond the circle of light, the night stretches in all directions, vast and unknowable. The cries of distant animals drift on the wind, reminders that the world is always alive, always moving, even in the darkness. Yet here, within this small circle, there is a sense of belonging, a fragile but precious web of trust and companionship that makes the long nights bearable. Imagine now the hush that falls as the final story ends. The fire's glow softens, its light becoming a quiet heartbeat in the darkness. The hunters lean back, their eyes half closed, their breath slow and even. The night holds them gently, the stories they have shared lingering like the scent of smoke on their skin. In this space, between waking and sleeping, the world becomes both smaller and larger, a place where the memories of the hunt, the laughter of the children, the quiet strength of the women all blend together into a single comforting presence. It is here in the warmth of the fire's last glow that the essence of humanity endures. A reminder that even in the harshest of worlds, stories bind us together, carry us through the darkness and light the way toward another dawn. And now, as the fire's embers fade and the night settles around us, let us ease our minds into the quiet rhythm of sleep. Let the stories of the mammoth hunters drift softly into the hush of dreams. Their echoes a gentle reminder that even in the coldest of times, warmth can be found in the simple act of sharing a tale. And so, dear listener, our quiet journey through the world of the mammoth hunters draws to a gentle close. As you rest now in the warmth of your own space, let the stories of those who came before us settle softly in your mind, a reminder of the strength and resilience that has carried humanity through the ages. We have walked together across frozen plains, felt the bite of the cold wind on our faces, and held the weight of a simple spear in our hands. We have gathered by ancient fires, listening to the low murmur of voices sharing tales of triumph, loss, and quiet hope. We have met the woman of Dolny Vestonitz, whose hands shaped the first clay figurines, and whose life touched the lives of so many. We have wandered through the mammoth bone dwellings, marveled at their ingenuity, and wondered at the mysteries they still hold. We have sat with the hunters beneath a dark sky, sharing stories that bound them together, their voices rising and falling with the steady rhythm of the fire's glow. Let these echoes of the past remind us that though the challenges were great, the human spirit found ways to endure, to create, and to care for one another. In the hush of this moment, imagine the sound of the wind fading, the warmth of the fire lingering on your skin, and the steady beat of your own heart, a quiet rhythm that connects you to the generations who have come before. May sleep find you easily tonight, carrying you on a soft tide of dreams where mammoths still roam and the fires of ancient communities burn bright against the darkness. And may the memory of these stories bring you comfort, reminding you that even in the harshest of worlds, warmth and companionship endure. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. Sleep well and let the echoes of history guide you into a peaceful night.